The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a soft hiss. Tejo walked through them with steady steps, his black uniform standing out against the colorful robes and strange bodies of the alien representatives. He had done this walk many times before, but today felt different. Today the whispers seemed louder. The chamber was huge, built to hold representatives from dozens of different worlds. Crystal beings that looked like living diamonds sat next to flowing water creatures in special tanks. Insect-like aliens with too many eyes clicked their mandibles while gas clouds in containment suits floated near the ceiling. At the center of it all sat the massive throne of Vextar, the Corvani leader whose crystalline body caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. Tejo took his place at the human section, a simple chair and desk that looked plain compared to the elaborate setups around him. He could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching him, studying him. In the 10 years since humans had joined the Galactic Council, they had become something nobody expected. They were not the strongest species or the smartest or the oldest, but when trouble started between other worlds, everyone called the humans. It had started small. A trade dispute between two minor worlds. The Council had tried their usual methods for months with no success. Then someone suggested asking the new human members for help. Within a week, the humans had found a solution that made both sides happy. After that, the requests kept coming. Border conflicts, resource disputes, territorial arguments. The humans somehow always found a way to fix things. Not because they were great diplomats, but because something about them made other species nervous. Maybe it was the way humans never seemed to give up. Maybe it was how they could survive in places that killed other beings. Or maybe it was the stories that had started spreading about what humans could do when they got angry. The Council recognizes Ambassador Tejo of Earth, Vextar announced, his voice echoing like wind chimes in the chamber. Tejo stood and bowed slightly to the assembly. Thank you, Council Leader. I understand there is a situation that requires attention. A ripple of movement went through the chamber. Near the left side, the Vrilax delegation shifted in their seats. They looked like giant ants that had learned to stand on two legs, with shiny black armor covering their bodies. Their compound eyes reflected the light in unsettling ways. Next to them, the Hydran representatives floated in their water tanks, their tentacles moving in patterns that showed they were upset. Indeed, Vextar said, the conflict between the Vrilax hive and the Hydran depths has escalated beyond our ability to mediate. Perhaps you have heard the reports? Tejo had heard the reports. They were bad. The Vrilax had decided they needed more water for their expanding colonies. The Hydrans lived in that water. What started as negotiations had turned into raids, then battles, then outright war. Thousands were dying every day as Vrilax ships attacked Hydran underwater cities. I have reviewed the situation, Tejo said calmly. The Vrilax claim ancient rights to the water systems. The Hydrans claim current occupation and prior settlement agreements. Both sides have valid legal arguments under different sections of galactic law. Queen Zixara of the Vrilax hive made a sound like grinding metal. Valid arguments do not fill our nursery pools, human. We need that water now, not in 100 years of meaningless talk. From her tank, Deep Lord Koralesh of the Hydrans created a pattern of colors across her skin that translated to extreme anger. Our young die in burning seas while hive minds speak of need. There is no negotiation with those who shoot first. The chamber filled with the sounds of different species expressing concern, fear, and frustration. Some wars could be contained, but this one threatened to pull in allies from both sides. The Corvani supported the Hydrans through old treaties. The Nathari gas dwellers had economic agreements with the Vrilax. If this kept going, half the galaxy might end up fighting. Tejo waited for the noise to die down before speaking. Both sides have agreed to human mediation? Yes, Vextar confirmed. Though I fear this conflict may be beyond even human-jitted methods, there it was. The pause before the word methods. Everyone in the chamber knew that humans did things differently. When the Kresh Rebellion had threatened to tear apart 3-star systems, human negotiators had ended it in 2 days. Nobody knew exactly how, but the rebel leaders had suddenly decided they preferred peace. When the Morvani Trade Consortium had tried to monopolize food shipments, humans had somehow convinced them to share. The consortium executives still looked nervous whenever they saw humans at trade meetings. We appreciate the Council's confidence, Tejo said. However, given the scale of this conflict and the number of casualties, Earth has decided to send a special response unit. The chamber went completely silent. Teho could have heard a pin drop, if pins existed on any of these worlds. Even the constant humming from the Nethari containment suit stopped. Vexitar's crystalline body flickered with uncertain colors. A special response unit? This is the first we have heard of such a thing. Earth maintains several military formations for different situations. Teho explained in the same calm voice he used for everything. Our regular expeditionary forces handle normal peacekeeping operations. The special response units handle unique situations. Queen Zixara's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of either amusement or aggression. Humans and their military formations. We have seen your soldiers, Teho. They are tough for such small creatures, I admit. But my hive commands 10 million warriors across 1,000 worlds. Your special humans will find this different from stopping pirates or breaking up trade disputes. Deep Lord Koralesh created a pattern of deep blue worry. The Queen speaks truth in this. Our war has moved beyond words and small forces. The hive brings death ships by the hundreds. What can any human unit do against such numbers? Other representatives began to murmur agreement. The humans were respected, even feared in small conflicts. But this was a real war between major powers. The Vrelax hive controlled more territory than any other single species. Their swarm tactics had conquered dozens of worlds. The Hydrans might live underwater, but their bioships could travel between stars and their weapons could boil entire oceans. Teho's communication device made a soft beeping sound. He glanced at it and his expression did not change, but something in his posture shifted slightly. If someone had been watching very carefully, they might have noticed that he seemed to relax, as if some worry had been lifted from his shoulders. I have just received confirmation from Earth Command, he announced. The Special Response Unit is en route. They should arrive in the conflict zone within 72 hours. How many ships? Queen Zixara demanded. How many soldiers? 1 ship, Teho replied. 12 soldiers. The chamber erupted in noise. Alien representatives talked, shouted, and made sounds that had no human equivalent. Some laughed, though laughter sounded different coming from beings with no vocal cords. Others created light patterns or chemical signals that expressed disbelief. Queen Zixara rose from her seat, her 6 arms spreading wide. 1 ship? 12 humans? Against 1,000 hive vessels and 10 million warriors? This is either a joke or an insult. I assure you, Your Majesty, it is neither, Teho said. Earth takes this conflict very seriously. We would not send inadequate resources to such an important situation. Then explain, Vextar demanded. How do 12 beings, no matter how skilled, address a war of this magnitude? Teho looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes, sensors, and other sensory organs of the various representatives. In my species' history, we have learned that the size of a force is not always the most important factor in determining the outcome of a conflict. Sometimes the right 12 individuals can accomplish what 12,000 cannot. Deep Lord Koralesh pulsed with confused colors. This makes no sense. War is numbers and weapons and strategy. Individual skill matters little when fleets clash in the void. Perhaps, Teho agreed. We shall see. The team I mentioned has a perfect record in resolved conflicts. They have never failed to complete their mission. What kind of missions? Asked Representative Nixival of the Nethari, his gas form swirling with curiosity. Teho paused for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. Difficult ones. Situations where normal approaches have not worked. Problems that require creative solutions. Queen Zixara made the grinding sound again, louder this time. Creative solutions will not stop hive plasma cannons. Your 12 humans will die quickly and accomplish nothing. Then perhaps Earth will send real military forces to avenge them. That would not be necessary, Teho said quietly. As I mentioned, this unit has never failed. I do not expect them to start now. Something in his tone made the chamber quiet again. It was not boasting or false confidence. It was the calm certainty of someone stating a simple fact, like saying that water was wet or that stars were bright. Vextar's crystal form shifted through several colors before settling on a deep purple that indicated deep thought. Very well. The Council authorizes human intervention in this conflict, but understand, Ambassador, that if your 12 soldiers fail, the war will continue and likely spread. The responsibility for additional deaths will rest on human shoulders. The bridge of the human ship Indomitable hummed with quiet activity. Captain Sujin stood at the center, watching the star charts that showed their path through hyperspace. Her ship was not the largest in Earth's fleet, but it was built for speed and stealth. Right now, it carried cargo more valuable than any treasure in the galaxy. "Captain," called Lieutenant Park from the communications station, "we're receiving status updates from the war zone. The situation is getting worse." Sujin nodded without taking her eyes off the display. "Show me." The main screen filled with tactical data that made her jaw tighten. Over 10,000 Vrelax ships were spread across the Hydran star system. The insect-like aliens fought with the efficiency of a hive mind, moving in perfect coordination. Every few hours, another Hydran underwater city went silent. The death count was climbing into the millions. "How long until we reach the conflict zone?" she asked. 58 hours at current speed," reported Navigation Officer Lee. "And our passengers?" Lieutenant Park checked his console. "The 47th Expeditionary Force is ready for deployment. Colonel Kim reports his troops are prepared for immediate action upon arrival." Sujin almost smiled at that. The 47th was a good unit. Tough, experienced soldiers who had fought in a dozen conflicts across human space. They were exactly the kind of force other species expected humans to send. Professional soldiers with standard equipment and proven tactics. What the aliens did not know was that the 47th was not the real mission. They were the visible presence, the obvious military response that would draw attention, while the real work happened elsewhere. "What about Deck 7? Sujin asked quietly. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Deck 7 was restricted. Red level clearance only. Most of the ship's crew did not even know it existed. The official records showed it as additional storage space. "No changes reported, Captain," Lieutenant Park said. "All systems normal." Sujin walked to her private console and entered a series of codes. A new display appeared showing the status of Deck 7. 12 green dots indicated 12 individuals, all in perfect health. No names were listed, only designation numbers. According to every official document, these 12 people did not exist. 3 days ago, they had boarded the ship at a classified facility on Luna. No ceremony, no fanfare, no records. They had simply walked aboard like ghosts, carrying equipment that the regular crew was not allowed to see. Since then, they had remained on Deck 7, preparing for a mission that only a handful of people in the entire galaxy knew about. Sujin had commanded ships for 15 years. She had fought pirates, smugglers, and rebel forces. She had seen human soldiers do impossible things through courage and determination, but even she did not fully understand what was happening on Deck 7. "Captain," Lieutenant Park said, interrupting her thoughts. "We're receiving a priority transmission from Galactic Council space. Put it through." The screen showed the face of Ambassador Taeho. Even across the vast distance, he looked calm and composed. "Captain Sujin, I trust your journey is proceeding smoothly." "Yes, Ambassador. We're on schedule." "Good. I wanted you to know that the Council has been monitoring alien communication networks. The reactions to our intervention are interesting." Sujin raised an eyebrow. "Interesting how?" "The various species are talking about humans more than usual. It seems our reputation has grown since the last major conflict." On cue, Lieutenant Park began displaying intercepts from alien communication networks. Sujin read them with growing amazement. A Corvani military analyst was discussing human tactics. "They do not fight like any other species. When cornered, most beings surrender or retreat. Humans do neither. They find a third option that nobody else considered." A Nethari trade representative was warning his colleagues. "Never assume you understand human capabilities. What they show you is never everything they have. The smart approach is to give them what they want before they decide to take it." But it was a transmission from a Vrelax military commander that caught Sujin's attention. "Human soldiers are individually weak compared to hive warriors, but they fight with pack tactics that our hive mind struggles to predict. They coordinate without telepathic links, yet move as if sharing thoughts. Intelligence suggests they train for situations that seem impossible, then find ways to make the impossible work." "The galaxy is afraid of us," Sujin said softly. "Not afraid," Taeho corrected. "Cautious. There is a difference. Fear comes from not understanding danger. Caution comes from understanding it too well." Another transmission caught Sujin's eye. This one was from a Hydran Deep Lord to his military council. The humans ended the Kresh rebellion in 2 days. No one knows how. The Kresh leaders simply announced they were laying down weapons and seeking peace. When asked why, they said only that they had been educated about their options. What does this mean? What did the humans show them? Ambassador, Sujin said, how much do these species actually know about our military capabilities? Taeho's expression did not change, but something flickered in his eyes. They know what we have chosen to show them. Human peacekeeping forces, diplomatic security teams, ship crews like yours. Professional, competent, but operating within expected parameters. And what we have not chosen to show them? That, Captain, is what makes this mission so important. The galaxy thinks it understands human military doctrine. Today they will learn how much they do not know. The transmission ended, leaving Sujin alone with her thoughts. She walked to the observation deck and looked out at the swirling colors of hyperspace. Somewhere ahead, 2 alien civilizations were destroying each other with weapons that could crack planets. Behind her, on Deck 7, 12 humans were preparing to end that war. She remembered the last time she had transported a special operations team. It was 5 years ago during the Morvani crisis. A trade consortium had cornered the market on food shipments to 3 star systems. Millions were starving while the Morvani executives got rich. The team she had carried then consisted of only 4 individuals. They had requested to be dropped off at a seemingly random location in space, with nothing but personal gear and a small shuttle. 2 weeks later, the Morvani consortium had announced they were restructuring their entire operation to provide free food shipments to the affected systems. When asked by reporters what had changed their minds, the Morvani executives had given strange answers. They talked about new perspectives on business ethics and revelations about the long-term consequences of their actions. One executive had been quoted as saying, "We realized we had been thinking about our problems in the wrong way." Sujin had never learned exactly what happened during those 2 weeks. The 4-person team had returned to Earth and disappeared back into whatever shadows they had come from. But she remembered the look in the Morvani executives' eyes during their press conferences. It was not the look of people who had been threatened or intimidated. It was the look of people who had been shown something that changed their understanding of reality. "Captain," Lieutenant Park's voice brought her back to the present. "We're receiving another update from the war zone." Sujin returned to the bridge and looked at the new data. The Vrilax forces had just destroyed another Hydran city, this one with over 1 million inhabitants. The geometric patterns of their attack formations showed the cold efficiency of hive mind tactics. "Any word from the Galactic Council?" she asked. "They're calling for immediate ceasefire negotiations. Both sides have agreed to meet at Nexus Station." Sujin nodded. Nexus Station was a neutral location, heavily defended and monitored by all the major powers. It was where the galaxy conducted its most important diplomatic business. It was also exactly where she expected the 12 individuals on Deck 7 to make their presence known. "Time to Nexus Station?" she asked. 43 hours if we alter course now. Do it, and send a message to the Council. Tell them the human negotiation team will arrive on schedule." As the Indomitable changed course toward Nexus Station, Sujin thought about the intercepted alien communications. The galaxy was cautious about humans because of what they had seen. But what they had seen was just the beginning. Human diplomats had ended conflicts through creative negotiation. Human soldiers had won battles through determination and adaptability. Human traders had found solutions to economic problems that nobody else could solve. But nobody outside of a few classified programs knew about the individuals who made the impossible look routine. The ones who could appear anywhere, solve any problem, and disappear without leaving evidence they had ever existed. In 43 hours, the galaxy would get its first real look at what humans could do when they stopped holding back. Sujin just hoped the aliens were ready for the lesson they were about to receive. In the depths of the ship on Deck 7, 12 ghosts prepared to become legends. Nexus Station floated in the empty space between 3 star systems, a massive structure that served as neutral ground for the galaxy's most important meetings. The station was the size of a small moon, with multiple sections designed for different alien environments. Water-filled chambers for aquatic species, high-pressure areas for gas dwellers, and crystal gardens for silicon-based life forms. Ambassador Taeho walked through the main corridor toward the central negotiation chamber. Around him, beings from dozens of worlds went about their business. Some were diplomats preparing for the upcoming talks. Others were traders, journalists, and observers drawn by the importance of the moment. The Vrilax delegation had arrived 6 hours ago with great ceremony. Queen Zixara had brought 500 of her elite guard, their black armor gleaming under the station's lights. The insect-like warriors moved in perfect formation, their compound eyes constantly scanning for threats. They projected an image of overwhelming power and absolute confidence. The Hydran representatives had arrived more quietly, but no less impressively. Deep Lord Koralesh had brought her bioships that could reshape themselves like living metal. Their tentacle crews worked with fluid grace, setting up the water-filled chambers where the negotiations would take place. What neither side knew was that 12 humans had been on Nexus Station for 6 hours longer than anyone else. Teho entered the negotiation chamber and took his place at the neutral mediator's position. The room was impressive, with sections adapted for each species. The Vrelax area had high platforms that let them look down on other participants. The Hydran section was partially flooded, allowing their representatives to remain in water while speaking. Viewing galleries around the chamber let observers from other species watch the proceedings. Queen Zixara entered first, flanked by her guards. Each warrior was over 7 feet tall, with natural armor that could stop most weapons. Their mandibles clicked in rhythm as they moved, creating an intimidating sound that echoed through the chamber. "Human mediator," the queen said, her voice carrying the authority of someone who ruled trillions of beings. "We come to these talks in good faith, but understand that the hive's needs are not negotiable. We require the water systems of the disputed regions." Deep Lord Koralesh flowed into her section, her tentacles creating graceful patterns in the water. "And we require the continuation of our existence," she replied, her words translated by bioluminescent displays. "These disputed regions are our ancestral homes. We have lived in those waters for 10,000 years. Teho nodded to both representatives. "The Council appreciates your willingness to seek a peaceful solution. Earth stands ready to facilitate negotiations that serve both your peoples. Peaceful solutions require compromise," Queen Zixara said. "The Hydrans must understand that evolution favors the strong. The hive has grown beyond our current territories. We need expansion room or our young will die." "Evolution also favors adaptation," Deep Lord Koralesh countered. "Perhaps the hive should learn to live within its means instead of taking from others." As the two leaders began to debate, Teho noticed small changes happening around the chamber. The lighting flickered almost imperceptibly. The air circulation system made tiny adjustment sounds. The Vrelax guards shifted position slightly, as if responding to stimuli that were not quite there. Queen Zixara stopped mid-sentence and turned to one of her guards. "Commander Vexilok, is there a problem?" The guard's compound eyes swept the chamber. "Uncertain, my queen. The sensors detect minor environmental fluctuations. Probably normal station operations, but it was not normal." Teho knew that Dasam was already inside the station's communication networks, learning everything about the Relax security protocols. Yunwu was mapping the station's systems, finding ways to make small changes that would create larger effects later. Bora and Jiwu were moving through areas that should have been impossible to access, gathering intelligence that would prove valuable in the hours to come. "Perhaps we should focus on the negotiations," Teho suggested smoothly. "Both your species have legitimate concerns that deserve discussion." The talks continued for 2 hours but made no progress. Each side restated their positions without offering any compromise. Queen Zixara insisted that hive expansion was a biological necessity. Deep Lord Koralesh maintained that Hydran survival was not negotiable. During a break, Teho stepped outside the chamber and checked his communication device. A series of coded messages told him that the preparation phase was proceeding perfectly. The 12 members of the special team had spent the time learning everything about Nexus Station's layout, security systems, and the routines of both alien delegations. When negotiations resumed, the changes became more noticeable. The chamber's temperature had shifted slightly, becoming cooler than the Vrelax preferred but ideal for humans. The humidity had increased, which made the Hydrans more comfortable, but caused the insect-like aliens to move more slowly. Queen Zixara's communication devices began playing strange interference patterns. What she did not know was that the sounds were carefully selected pieces of human classical music, chosen to create specific psychological effects. The mathematical precision of Bach's compositions subtly influenced brain patterns, while the emotional depth of Beethoven's symphonies created unexpected feelings in minds not designed to process such complexity. "What is the meaning of this?" Queen Zixara demanded. holding up a communication device that was playing Mozart's Requiem instead of tactical updates. Technical difficulties, Tejo said calmly. Station maintenance is checking the systems, but the real message was clear to anyone who understood what was happening. The humans were demonstrating that they could reach anything, anywhere, anytime. Communication systems that should have been unhackable were playing music instead of military data. Environmental controls that should have been tamper-proof were being adjusted with casual ease. Deep Lord Koralesh created a pattern of concerned colors. This seems more than simple maintenance. Our bioships are reporting similar anomalies. Perhaps, Tejo agreed. However, these minor technical issues pale compared to the major issue of preventing further warfare between your peoples. Queen Zixara's guards had become increasingly agitated. Their training told them that something was wrong, but their sensors could not identify any specific threats. They kept looking over their shoulders at shadows that seemed to move when they were not watching directly. What they could not see was Yunji implementing her psychological warfare protocols. Small sounds that registered just below conscious awareness, brief movements at the edge of vision, changes in air pressure that triggered instinctive responses. The Vrilax guards were being systematically made paranoid without realizing what was happening to them. "My queen," Commander Vexilok reported quietly. "The guards are reporting unusual sensory experiences. They feel as if they are being watched." "By whom?" Queen Zixara demanded, unknown. "Our sweeps detect no unauthorized personnel." Tejo stood and walked to the center of the chamber. "If I may suggest, the stress of this conflict may be affecting everyone involved. Perhaps a brief demonstration would help clarify the situation." "What kind of demonstration?" Deep Lord Koralesh asked. "One that shows the importance of finding peaceful solutions to seemingly impossible problems." Before anyone could respond, the chamber's lights dimmed for exactly 3 seconds. When they returned to normal, something had changed. On the armrest of Queen Zixara's throne, where nothing had been before, lay a simple human combat knife. The queen stared at the blade in complete silence. Her guards immediately raised their weapons and began scanning every inch of the chamber, but their sensors showed nothing. No intruders, no security breaches, no explanation for how a weapon had appeared in the most secure location on the station. "How?" Queen Zixara whispered. Tejo picked up the knife and examined it casually. "An interesting question. This appears to be a standard human military blade, the kind carried by our special forces." "Impossible," Commander Vexilok stated. "My guards have been watching every entrance. No one entered or left this chamber." "Perhaps no one needed to enter," Tejo suggested. "Perhaps someone was already here." The implications of that statement sent ripples of unease through both delegations. If humans could appear and disappear at will in the galaxy's most secure facility, what else could they do? Deep Lord Koralesh pulsed with nervous colors. "You are saying that human soldiers are on this station, hidden from our sensors?" "I am saying that humans have many capabilities that we do not advertise," Tejo replied. "Just as I am sure both your species have resources that you do not discuss publicly." Queen Zixara's mandibles clicked rapidly. "This is a threat. You are threatening us." "Not at all," Tejo said with the same calm tone he always used. "I am demonstrating a point. Both your species are locked in a war that you believe can only end with one side destroying the other. You assume that overwhelming force is the only path to victory." He placed the knife on the negotiation table where everyone could see it. "This blade represents a different approach. It appeared in an impossible location through methods that your security could not detect or prevent. The person who placed it here could have done anything else instead." Queen Zixara stood abruptly from her throne, her 6 arms spreading in a gesture of dismissal. The negotiations had continued for 3 more hours after the knife incident, but the Vrilax leader had grown increasingly frustrated. Every proposal the humans offered required some form of compromise from the hive, something her nature made almost impossible to accept. "These talks are meaningless," she declared, her voice echoing through the chamber. "The hive does not bargain with food sources. We take what we need for survival." Deep Lord Koralesh created angry red patterns across her skin. "Then you choose war over wisdom. The depths will not surrender our homes to feed your endless hunger." "So be it," Queen Zixara replied. "My fleets will finish what we started. When the last Hydran city burns, perhaps other species will understand the price of defying the hive." Tejo remained seated as both delegations prepared to leave. Your Majesty, I strongly encourage you to reconsider. The Human Special Response Unit is already en route to the conflict zone. Queen Zixara's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among her species. 12 humans against the might of the hive? They will die quickly and serve as an example to those who interfere in our expansion. Perhaps, Tejo said quietly, but I think you may find the experience educational. 6 hours later, Queen Zixara was aboard her flagship Hive Ascendant, the largest and most powerful vessel in the Vrilax fleet. Around her, over 10,000 ships prepared for the final assault on the Hydran home system. The formation stretched across space like a dark cloud, blotting out the stars. Status report, she commanded from her throne on the bridge. All fleets report ready for assault, replied General Kixtara, her military commander. The Hydran bioships are falling back to their final defensive positions around the ocean worlds. And the humans? One ship detected at the edge of the system. The vessel Indomitable Registry Earth Forces, standard patrol craft with minimal armaments. Queen Zixara felt a moment of satisfaction. After all the mysterious happenings at Nexus Station, it seemed the humans were just as weak as she had originally thought. One small ship against the greatest military force in the galaxy. Scan for life signs, she ordered. 800 humans aboard. Most appear to be standard military personnel. Open communications with their ship. The main screen showed the bridge of the human vessel. A woman in a captain's uniform stood at the center, looking remarkably calm for someone facing impossible odds. I am Queen Zixara of the Vrilax Hive. You are Captain? Sujin, the human replied. Captain Sujin of the Earthship Indomitable. Captain Sujin, you are badly outnumbered. Withdraw now and you may live to report your failure to your superiors. I appreciate the offer, Your Majesty, but I have my orders. Queen Zixara studied the human's face. There was no fear there, no desperation. If anything, Captain Sujin seemed almost bored, as if this confrontation was routine. Very well, you have chosen death. Do not say you were not warned. The communication ended and Queen Zixara turned to her general. Begin the assault. Destroy the human ship first, then proceed with the attack on the Hydran worlds. What happened next defied everything the Vrilax understood about space warfare. The human ship did not flee or attempt to fight the overwhelming odds. Instead, it began broadcasting on all frequencies. Not a distress call or a surrender, but what appeared to be a documentary about Earth's ocean life. Specifically, a program about how different species of fish work together to solve problems that none could handle alone. General, why are the humans showing us fish? Queen Zixara demanded. Unknown, my queen, perhaps it is some form of psychological warfare. But the documentary was just the beginning. Within minutes, Vrilax ships throughout the fleet began reporting strange technical difficulties. Nothing critical at first, communication static, minor navigation errors, sensor ghosts that appeared and disappeared without explanation. Then the problems escalated. The first sign of real trouble came when Admiral Torgek reported from the port flank. My queen, our targeting computers are malfunctioning. They keep locking onto our own ships instead of enemy targets. Switch to manual targeting, General Kixtara ordered. We tried. The manual controls are not responding properly. More reports flooded in. Ships were losing power to non-essential systems. Life support remained functional, but lighting flickered and gravity fluctuated. Weapon systems engaged their safety protocols at random intervals, preventing the ships from firing. How is this possible? Queen Zixara demanded. Our ships use isolated systems. They cannot be hacked remotely, unknown. My queen. Our technicians report that the malfunctions appear to be coming from inside our own systems. That was when the first ships began disappearing. Not destroyed. Disappeared. Vrilax vessels simply vanished from sensors for several minutes at a time before reappearing in different locations. When they returned, their crews reported strange experiences. Systems had been accessed and examined, but nothing had been damaged or stolen. Security teams found evidence of intruders, reported Captain Zevlok from the destroyer Hiveblade. But we detected no boarding actions, no breaches in the hull. It is as if the intruders materialized inside our ship. Queen Zixara felt something she had not experienced since childhood. Uncertainty. The Hive's strength came from perfect coordination in overwhelming numbers. But how could you coordinate when your communications were compromised? How could numbers matter when individual ships kept vanishing and reappearing?
General, order the fleet to fall back and regroup.
We need to understand what is happening. But the order never reached most of the fleet. The communication network had become a chaos of crossed signals, false commands, and broadcasts of human music that seemed designed to create confusion and paranoia. Then the explosions began. Not the massive detonations of ship-to-ship combat, but small precise charges that disabled key systems without destroying the vessels. Weapons platforms went offline. Engine cores shut down safely. Life support continued to function, but everything else ground to a halt. Report. Queen Zixara shouted over the noise of alarms and emergency signals. Multiple ships reporting catastrophic system failures. General Kixtara replied, her own voice strained with disbelief. But no hostile fire detected. The damage appears to be from internal explosions. Sabotage? Unknown. Security sweeps find no evidence of explosives or saboteurs. As Queen Zixara watched her invincible fleet fall apart around her, she began to understand what was happening. The 12 humans had not come to fight 10,000 ships in open battle. They had come to demonstrate that open battle was not the only option. Every ship that was disabled could have been destroyed. Every system that was sabotaged could have been turned into a weapon against its own crew. Every security breach could have been used for assassination or theft. Instead, the humans were teaching a lesson. They were showing the Hive that their overwhelming numbers meant nothing against an enemy that could appear anywhere. Strike anything and disappear without trace. My queen, General Kixtara said quietly, perhaps we should reconsider the human offer of negotiations. Queen Zixara stared at the tactical display showing her once mighty fleet scattered and helpless. 1,000 ships reduced to floating, scrapped by 12 individuals she had never seen and could not fight. Open communications with the human ship, she said. Finally, Captain Sujin appeared on the screen again, still looking perfectly calm. Your Majesty, I trust you have had time to consider your options. What do you want? Queen Zixara asked. The same thing we wanted 6 hours ago. A peaceful solution that allows both your species to survive and prosper. And if we refuse? Captain Sujin's expression did not change. Then you will learn that what you have experienced so far was just a demonstration. A teaching exercise designed to show you possibilities you had not considered. Queen Zixara looked around her bridge at the confused and frightened faces of her crew. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had been neutralized by an enemy they could not see or touch. What kind of beings are you? She whispered. The kind that prefers to solve problems without unnecessary killing, Captain Sujin replied. The kind that finds creative solutions when traditional approaches fail. The kind that your species might want to work with instead of against. For the first time in her life, Queen Zixara realized that the Hive might not be the strongest force in the galaxy after all. The bridge of Queen Zixara's flagship had become eerily quiet. Alarms still sounded from distant parts of the ship, but the immediate crisis had passed. Her fleet hung motionless in space, thousands of ships disabled but intact. The crew moved with the careful precision of beings who suddenly understood how fragile their situation had become. My queen, General Kixtara reported, the human ship is requesting permission to board. Queen Zixara felt her mandibles click involuntarily. In all her years of conquest, no enemy had ever made such a request. Enemies either surrendered or died. They did not ask for meetings after demonstrating they could destroy you at will. How many humans? She asked. 1. A single individual requesting safe passage to the bridge. One human wanted to board the most heavily defended ship in the Vrilax fleet. After what she had witnessed, Queen Zixara almost laughed at the irony. Her ship carried 5,000 warriors, the finest weapons the Hive could produce, and defensive systems that could stop entire fleets. But somehow she suspected that none of that would matter to whoever was coming. Grant permission, she said, but maintain full security protocols. 20 minutes later, the main entrance to the bridge opened with a soft hiss. The figure who walked through was not what Queen Zixara had expected. He was tall for a human, but still smaller than most Vrilax warriors. His uniform was simple black cloth with no decorations or rank insignia. He moved with quiet confidence as if he belonged exactly where he was. Your Majesty, he said with a slight bow, I am Colonel Jae Sung. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. Queen Zixara studied him carefully. You are the leader of the 12 humans who have disrupted my fleet. I am, Jason confirmed. Though I should point out that disruption was not our goal. Education was. Education? Yes. We wanted to show you something important about the nature of conflict and resolution. Queen Zixara gestured to the tactical displays showing her disabled ships. And what lesson was worth crippling the greatest military force in the galaxy? Jae-sung walked to the main display and studied it with the casual interest of someone examining a work of art. That greatest is a relative term. Your fleet is impressive by the standards of conventional warfare, but we live in an age where conventional approaches are becoming obsolete. Explain. Your species thinks in terms of overwhelming force. You solve problems by bringing more warriors, more ships, more weapons than your enemy can match. This approach has worked well for you in the past. It has made us masters of half the galaxy, Queen Zixara said proudly. Indeed. But consider what my team accomplished today. 12 individuals neutralized 10,000 ships without firing a single shot or killing a single being. We could have destroyed your entire fleet, but we chose not to. Which approach is truly more powerful? Queen Zixara felt her certainty wavering. Everything her species believed about strength and conquest was being challenged by the calm human standing before her. How? She asked. How did you do it? Jae-sung smiled slightly. By understanding that every system has weaknesses, every plan has flaws, and every opponent has vulnerabilities. We spent years studying relaxed technology, tactics, and psychology. We learned how your hive mind works, how your ships operate, how your society functions. Impossible. Our security is excellent against conventional threats, Jae-sung interrupted gently. But humans do not think conventionally. We approach problems from directions that others do not consider. He gestured to a wall panel that flickered and displayed an image of Earth. My species evolved on a world that tried to kill us in every way possible. We faced predators stronger than us, environments that should have destroyed us, and challenges that seemed impossible to overcome. We survived by learning to adapt, to think creatively, to find solutions that no one else would consider. The image changed to show human cities, then space stations, then ships traveling between stars. We did not conquer our world through overwhelming force. We conquered it through intelligence, determination, and the refusal to accept that any problem was truly unsolvable. Queen Zixara stared at the display. You are saying that your species is naturally suited for this kind of warfare. Not warfare, Jae-sung corrected. Problem solving. What you call warfare, we call a particularly complex puzzle. The goal is not to destroy the other side, but to find a solution that serves everyone's real needs. And what do you believe our real needs are? Water for your expanding population. Territory for your colonies. Resources for your growing civilization. Jae-sung paused. None of which require the destruction of the Hydrons. Before Queen Zixara could respond, her communication system activated. Deep Lord Koralesh appeared on the screen, her tentacles creating patterns of urgent concern. Your Majesty, the Hydron leader said. We have been monitoring the situation with your fleet. Are you under attack? Not exactly, Queen Zixara replied, still trying to process everything she had learned. We propose immediate joint action, Deep Lord Koralesh continued. The Hydron bioships can assist in evacuating your crews if needed. Queen Zixara stared at the screen in amazement. Her mortal enemy was offering to help her in what appeared to be a moment of crisis. Why would you do this? Because, Deep Lord Koralesh said simply, even enemies should not be left helpless in space. Jae-sung nodded approvingly. This is exactly what I hoped would happen. You planned this? Queen Zixara demanded. I planned to create a situation where both species would have to think beyond their traditional patterns. The Hydrons have just demonstrated that they value life over victory. Perhaps the Hive can learn to do the same. The communication continued as Deep Lord Koralesh coordinated rescue efforts for ships that did not actually need rescuing. But the gesture was real, and its impact on both species was profound. Colonel, Queen Zixara said slowly, what exactly are you proposing? A new approach to your conflict. Instead of fighting over existing water systems, why not work together to create new ones? Human engineering could help you terraform dead worlds. Hydron biotechnology could make those worlds suitable for both species. Frylax's organizational abilities could coordinate projects across multiple star systems. Queen Zixara felt her hive mind racing as it processed this possibility. You are suggesting cooperation? I am suggesting that 3 species working together could accomplish more than any one species could achieve alone. The galaxy is vast with endless opportunities for expansion that do not require taking from others. Deep Lord Koralesh had been listening to the conversation. The human speaks wisdom. Our bioships could seed new worlds with water systems. Your construction fleets could build cities. Together we could create homes for billions. For the first time in her life, Queen Zixara considered the possibility that strength might come from building rather than conquering. And the humans? What do you gain from this arrangement? Peace, Jae-sung said simply, and the opportunity to help 2 remarkable species reach their full potential. 3 hours later, Ambassador Taeho received a priority message aboard Nexus Station. The war between the Vrelax and Hydrons was officially over, not ended by conquest or surrender, but by a joint agreement to pursue collaborative expansion into previously unexplored regions of the galaxy. The message included a personal note from Queen Zixara. The 12 humans you sent have changed how the Hive thinks about everything. We would like to learn more about this approach to problem solving. Deep Lord Koralesh sent a similar message. Human creativity has shown us possibilities we never imagined. The depths welcome further cooperation. As Taeho prepared his report for Earth, he reflected on what had been accomplished. The galaxy had feared humans because of their unpredictability and determination. Now they would respect humans for their restraint and wisdom. But most importantly, they would remember that human strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the choice not to when destruction was unnecessary. In the years that followed, other species would request human mediation for their conflicts. They would learn that humans possessed military capabilities that defied conventional understanding. But they preferred to use those capabilities to create solutions rather than impose them. The galaxy was a safer place, because 12 humans had shown that the greatest victories were won without anyone knowing a battle had taken place, and somewhere in the classified files of Earth's military, a simple report would be filed. Mission accomplished. No casualties. Situation resolved through educational demonstration. The 12 members of Team Shadowfall would disappear back into the shadows they came from, ready for the next impossible problem that required a uniquely human solution. The galaxy had learned to fear humans. Now it was learning to trust them. That perhaps was the most powerful weapon of all.